We all know that communication in aircraft is very, very important. But what happens when that communication isn't as crisp or as clear as it should be? It could be any number of problems. Radio's going bad, wiring's bad, antennas are bad. So let's take a look at a solution to a problem the owner of a Piper Arrow was having with a intermittent and staticky radio. And that's where the shop, Arispe Aviation, comes in. Anthony Arispe was kind enough to let me bother him and his co-worker Jake while they worked on this Piper Arrow.
He didn't inspect or change anything airframe side.
Okay.
All this radio noise and everything like that, come to find out, is actually being induced from really bad connections that were already existing on the radio side. Like this is exactly how it was installed.
They just shoved it in there.
Pretty much.
Oh, nice.
So this is where we're getting a lot of noise from. So what we're doing is we're replacing the antennas to a higher wattage antenna, and we're replacing the old coax, this black RG58, to the RG400U. You can see it already hanging down.
The tan one?
So simply what we're redoing is the antenna and comm system on the airframe side.
Okay.
So we're running new coaxes. We have to do a little sheet metal to get new comm antennas on. That's what we're doing now. So right now we've got the front one bonded. We have to strip the metal, get the aluminum exposed so it makes a good bond on the top of the airframe side.
Right.
Then we're going to screw it on, get everything put together. Here is the original airframe installation, and when I take it apart, these are an old style B and C. They are solder type. You're actually supposed to solder them to it, and you can see this one was not soldered because I can slide it straight out, and the core you can see is non-existent. And the complaint was we had very weak radios and a lot of noise being induced. And it makes sense. This is supposed to be soldered in here, and what's actually happening is it's working more like a telegraph. This will rattle inside of there with aircraft vibration. So that's why we're getting a really weak signal and inducing so much noise.
Right.
So we replace these with the more modern style B and C's, the crimp style, which if you pop around here, you can actually see these are the more modern style here.
After the radios have been taken out and the new cables been pulled through, the old antennas and panels have been taken off, and the top of the cabin's been pretty much demolished and prepared. And the manual, read that. It's time to get to work.
The old style antenna was here with a doubler. Now, one of the issues is if we were to install this with the new antenna, we're going to be overlapping on the skin here. So not only are we getting into trying to get better noise resistance, better coaxes into the comm system so we can get a further range, we can get the noise out, engine noise and spark plug noise. We're running into structural issues now because we got to get this on here.
Right, flush, yeah.
So there are two ways of doing this. You can see here where I've already drilled out the existing rivets, and we're going to go in with the flush rivets here to get the skin surface. One way to do this would be able to actually create a flush doubler, and we would come up against this skin and we could replace that and use the existing hole. But in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to make an actual coin plug is what we call it. We'll come in with another doubler underneath, and we'll make a doubler that fits right inside this hole.
Right.
So instead of using this, what we'll do is we'll actually move this back here, and it'll make a flush. And then, just for aesthetic purposes, we're doing that so we're covering this existing hole. If a lot of trade shops and small shops would simply just move the antenna back and leave this exposed as is, they just put a plug in it or anything like that. But again, for aesthetic reasons, we're going to go a little step above and beyond and keep this hole covered, because it's just an eyesore. You don't want to walk by an aircraft, especially with as nice of a paint job as this, and see a big plug in it to match paint or anything like that would be a real problem. So again, we'll just make a flush patch and put the antenna here to where it's covering the hole, the existing hole. The only issue that we run into is we have to look, because any hole that you put next to another hole has to keep a certain clearance.
Right.
So the only issue that we're really going to have, but I've already measured it out, the BNC connection on this is actually so small that we will keep our radius, our actual drill radius, and keep that damage, or keep that hole separate enough that it'll pass inspection.
Who inspects it when you get?
That's actually me. I am an IA. I'm an aircraft inspector, and according to most modifications that you would do on skin or do on aircraft or anything like that would generate some type of 337 or some form. And in this case, what we have is, this is a minor alteration, along with, we already have FAR 4313 1B, and it's going to talk about the installation of antennas, structural maintenance manual on this, the structural repair manual will talk about coin repair and patch repairs and flush patches. So we actually have all the paperwork generated just from generations and years of experience on these aircraft, that I don't have to get field approvals, I don't have to get a DER, I don't have to do any type of structural analysis. We just use the existing paperwork, we use the existing procedures that have already been generated. So it's just a simple logbook sign off.
Cool. Before they go any further, Anthony takes some time to teach Jake the finer points of riveting. You see Anthony teaching them there how to hold a bucking board. From there, they move to the inside of the airplane, and Anthony tells Jake where the rivets are going to go and how to hold the board.
You like it? You on it? Yep. Remember, don't push too hard, don't get nervous. We can always fix it. You ready? Yep. Pretty good. Very good. Feel good?
Yep.
How's that look?
Good. While Anthony finishes up the antenna on the aft portion of the airplane, let's move up front and see Jake install the antenna that's on the forward portion. See Jake putting on the forward antenna, securing it to the fuselage with the appropriate fasteners. Make sure all the connections are good. And there's Anthony putting the final touches on the antenna. Interior panels go back. Appropriate connections. Well, you got to put the insulation in, of course. And the appropriate connections for all the lights on the overhead panel, the speaker, and stuff like that. And when all that is done, you get this. No static, clear communication. Extend a huge thank you to Anthony Arispe and Jake Knight